Hello, everybody. I do apologize for not updating this series sooner. I pretty much got stuck because I wasn't able to find in my opinion, a good way to split text into chunks in KNIME. So I've done this outside of KNIME. I've used Python, and I'm going to be working with the Meta Q4 2023 earnings call. So we're going to very briefly discuss a concept known as retriever augmented generation. Essentially, you want to use the power of the large language model on your own data, and this is a very powerful thing because, well, hopefully these companies don't have access to your company's internal data sources or maybe even your personal data. So you could very well, for instance, upload all your employee policies to a vector store and then let your employees chat with these documents using ChatGPT. So usually the first step, well, the first step honestly is to really clean your documents. Ideally, you want to split them based on structures in the documents, like your sections, your subsections, and things like that. But oftentimes that's very challenging to implement, and I know this from working with this kind of data. You also want to clean your text. Like you can see in mine, I do have some weird characters. This is probably maybe a dash or hyphen or something that has been encoded the wrong way. But ideally, you want to have your text as clean and you want to have your splits done as structured as possible. But I've just used a basic splitter. I mean, well, it's not too basic. It's the recursive character text splitter. It's pretty much splits based on punctuations and things like that. And I've split it by approximately 1,000 characters, which is what is commonly done in this field. And I also have an overlap of 200 characters because we don't want to lose information. We don't want, for instance, to have something split, you know, in the middle of a sentence, and then we lose a whole bunch of context. So what I have done is the end of the first chunk, you're going to see it in the beginning of the next one. So there's always a little bit more information in there to make things as coherent or as complete as possible in our chunks. I've also added some metadata, like I've put the title of the document, the company name, and the period. Let's just imagine that for this scenario, we are a hedge fund or something, and we collect earnings calls, and we want to enable our analysts to go in and understand and get information from these earning calls. So the first thing you want to do, assuming you already have your authenticator, is you want to connect to the embedding model. We're going to be using OpenAI, and it's going to be the ADA embedding model. So we're going to bring her over here, connect these two together. Okay, so this is the ADA, and that's fine. And now we want to go select a vector store node. I'm going to be using Fire, so you can use Chrome as well. That has been made by the lovely team at KNIME. Use the vector store creator node to create our vector store. Honestly, in this video, I'm going to show you more than one node. I'm going to show you 3 because I think they're really good together. And we're going to specify where to take the text from. So the document is in the column called text, and all of these are metadata. Guys, metadata is super important because when you are retrieving information from your vector store, some of it is going to be based on a search. So like, let's say you ask, I don't know, who is Mark Zuckerberg? It's going to search. That's not a good example. Okay, let's imagine you have documents from 20 different companies in your vector store, right? And you want to ask a question which is only relevant for one of those companies. Now you could ask, what is the strategic outlook for Meta? You can ask this in a question, and the retriever is going to try its best to retrieve the information. But you're probably going to get information from other companies. That's just how it's going to be. To avoid this, you want to make use of the metadata to enable your user to pass that filter, document name equals meta, as a variable to your vector store. The responses you get from the vector store and the information retrieved from the vector store, and ultimately the responses and data you get from the large language model is made way better when you are recording metadata and using those in your filters. So these are very important. Now you can create those here. I'm not quite sure. I did play around with a lot of these nodes, and when it comes to retrieving the information from the vector store, I don't believe I saw a way to apply those filters, but let me reevaluate when I get to that point, and if it's not there, I would contact the KNIME team because it's a crucial functionality to have. Okay, so yes, we have said where the text document is, where the document column is, and we have indicated the metadata that we have, and we're going to click on OK, and we're going to run this, and it's going to so basically our chunks are going to be converted into vectors, which are numerical representation of the meaning of the text, and this is pretty much how the model understands and retrieves information. Okay, so now the vector store has been created. It's going to need to be a tool if we're going to use agents later, and honestly, like, I don't really see a place to name this vector store here, and I would like something that has the name of it, so I'm going to use this node. So in here we can say, okay, so yeah, so you also have to connect it to your chat or your LLM model. So I'm gonna call it earnings PD earnings calls. Okay, so earning calls of companies, and the source is the document name here, and then click on OK. Okay, so I'm gonna stop for here. We have done 3 nodes. This one is easy. I mean, they're all easy, but they show you how to make a vector to store your data, and we're gonna see how we can use them with the large language model in the later videos of the series. Thank you for watching. Have a lovely day. Goodbye.